This video is going to share with you tips on how to find an Amazon FBA or an e-commerce warehouse for your business. This is part 3 of a multi-part training series where we've covered everything that we need to talk about, consider some warehouse success principles, as well as some pre-warehouse considerations. This is going to be about actually finding the right warehouse for you and then ultimately committing. We're going to go on a bit of a journey in this video because I'm going to share with you some of the things that we've learned over the last 6 years and doing actually 2 warehouse moves. The first warehouse move was back in 2016 when we found our first 2,000 square foot warehouse. So I'm going to share with you some tips on how we actually found that and then ultimately committed to it. And then more recently, we moved from that 2,000 square foot warehouse to this where I'm sitting right now, this 10,000 square foot warehouse. And we went through and we learned the same sort of processes. So this is a fantastic training series. If you're interested in a warehouse, let's begin. So the first thing just to recap is up until to this point, you should have now brainstormed the type of warehouse that you're looking for. So for us, it was an open space, an open plan. We didn't want to go for box rooms, or we were very conscious of not having like stanchions and pillars in the way. So we had already decided that that's the type of warehouse that we're looking for. The second thing was to do with the actual the size of the warehouse. So depending on where you're at right now, if you're going to go from your home to your first warehouse, or you're already in a warehouse and you're going to go to a second warehouse, the size is an important consideration. So for us, we went from home, our living room, we actually made the leap into a 2,000 square foot warehouse. And the 2,000 square foot warehouse, when we first moved in, it was definitely much bigger, obviously, and what it really did is we found the right balance, like I shared in part 2. It found the right balance of really stretching us, but not snapping us, right? It was a real stretch for us to go from home to a 2,000 square foot warehouse. But what it did, it stretched us, it made us want to think bigger, it made us want to dream big, think about what we can start to build, our systems, all the foundational things that we have learned over the last few years. And then even from the 2,000 square foot warehouse to the 10,000 square foot warehouse, that was 5 times bigger. And that absolutely over the last sort of 12 months, it has stretched us too, but up until this point, it's really pushed us to think bigger, be bold, think about what we're investing in, streamlining our operations, our systems. And then the final thing, just before we get into the tips, was ultimately your budget, right? The budget that you have in your business right now, the profitability that you've got in your business. When you're starting to think about, okay, I'm looking for a 1,500 square foot warehouse, a 2,000 square foot warehouse, and getting a bit of an idea of what budget that you have to take into consideration all the costs that we've covered, everything from rent, if there is rates involved, utilities, security, everything that you need to consider. So up until this point, you should hopefully have a bit of an idea of a figure in terms of a budget, and then the type of warehouse and the size of warehouse. Okay, so that was the first bit as a recap, and now the second bit. So the question is, how do we actually find the right warehouse? How do we even begin? Now, the first thing that I would recommend is when you're actually looking and going, okay, I'm going to look for a warehouse. The first thing I would do is I would actually post onto social media, onto your Facebook page, in your profile. And the reason for this is just simply saying something along the lines of, our business is expanding, we're looking for an industrial warehouse unit around your particular town, wherever you want to find it. Does any of my friends know of any warehouses that are either empty right now or due for their lease? They're actually moving out of a particular warehouse. This is just going to get the ball rolling to start with. Depending on what friends you have on Facebook, you may have some friends that are working in different businesses, in different industrial estates and different industrial units and business parks. They may already be aware of something. Oh, we've got a warehouse next door that's actually got a to let sign. So that just gets the ball rolling, and especially if you've got like friends of friends, right? So there's people share it around your town, your village, and it can get the word out. So that's one of the things that you could absolutely attempt to do, completely free. Obviously, it gets the word out, and somebody can point you in the right direction to go to this industrial estate, and you can again check it out. So that's the first tip. The second tip is how we actually found our first warehouse back in 2016, and that is to actually get in our cars and drive around different industrial estates. Actually get in your car and drive around the different locations around your town. So around where you live, you will most likely know the different industrial estates that you've got. And inside those industrial estates, there's going to be various amounts of different warehouses, either smaller warehouses from 500 square foot to maybe 2,000 square foot, or you'll know based on the location that you're looking for, based on your travels around your town or your village or your city, you'll know, if we had a warehouse in this location, that would be fantastic. And then what you do is you get in your car and actually just drive there. So we did this when we first started. We was like, okay, we know the industrial estates. We're gonna go check out this industrial park and just have a drive around. Sometimes warehouses could be empty and it could be available without actually a sign present. Or there may be warehouses that are currently not empty, they've actually got businesses inside them, but they're actually going to be moving out maybe at the end of this month or at the end of next month. And you don't really know until you actually go talking and start actually exploring these areas. So we did this in our town. We've got, I think there's 4 or 5 different industrial estates, business parks, and we would just drive in and have a good look round. Just have a look round, see if there's any signs about, if there's anybody there, ask a couple of questions, and one, somebody might point you in the right direction, or 2, they might just say there's no warehouses here. Fortunately for us, we drove into one of the industrial estate that we wanted, but it was roughly about a 10-15 minute walk from our house, which was ideal, and we drove to this, and we actually saw a sign up, and it was actually an empty unit. And we started to go next door. We was asking a couple of questions. Do you know who the landlord is for this warehouse? And we were actually told that the landlord is across the road, right? Believe it or not, that was our luck. And we ended up walking over to the business and inquiring there. We were just saying, we were just inquiring about the warehouse across the road. We can see it's empty, and we were just wondering if you've got any plans for it, or if you're looking for anybody to move in. And it just so happened that the owner was actually there. He was in his office. So we walked in. I remember this very clearly to this day. We walked in and we said, it's nice to meet you. Me and Kylie, we're interested in a warehouse. We're interested in finding a unit just like the one that's available, that's empty right now. And we were just wondering what you was sort of doing with it. And the guy asked us a couple of questions. Says, what do you do? What does your business do? How long have you been operating? Just the basic sort of understanding of questions. And then he was a bit of an old school. I think he was in his 50s, maybe late 50s. And I remember this to this day. He said, I don't do contracts, I don't do leases, I don't mess about with estate agents. What I do is I do a gentleman's handshake. And what that means is we have a very, very clear agreement. This is what the rent's going to be, this is what the payment every month's going to be, and all I want from you is to make sure that you pay it on time every single month. If you don't pay it on time, is it okay for me to have the authorization from you on this handshake that we, because he had a scrap yard, that I take one of the lads outside, we'll get in a forklift, we'll pick up as much scrap and as much sort of breeze blocks and concrete blocks and posts as possible. And what we're going to do is we're going to barricade you in, so you can actually ship. Because I told him that's what we ship. We have UPS come, we ship via boxes every single day. UPS come every day for our pickups. And he said, if you don't pay, I'm just going to instruct one of my guys to be in front of your warehouse, and UPS will not collect from you. You will not operate until you pay. Does that sound like a fair deal? And I remember thinking to myself, well, I mean, that's fair. You know, if we don't pay, then it's quite right. We're in a bit of a gentleman's agreement, as he said. And we struck gold. That's exactly how we found our first warehouse. We struck gold by actually just having that agreement. And he said, look, all I expect from you is if you could just pay 1 month advance as a bond, and then pay the first rent, and then we'll just go on a month-to-month rolling basis. Does that sound good to you? Sounded fantastic to us, and we negotiated the price, and that was it. We shook hands, and me and Kylie walked out of there after about 2 weeks of driving around, looking around. We drove out there thinking, that's it. Can you believe it? We've got the keys. And that was, it's being resourceful. It's not, the easy thing is just to go to an estate agent and try to find one through an estate agent. But this, being a bit more resourceful, actually negotiating, talking to somebody, investigating, asking questions of people, trying to get to the people that you need to get to, that could be your door to find your warehouse. So that was just a quick story for you. So that was, the third thing in this video. Just drive around your local industrial estates, and it'll be amazing what you find. The fourth thing, the fourth tip is then to actually go online and look online. This is where there's obviously many estate agents where they are going to have a commercial side of their estate agent. So there's going to be residential, there's going to be commercial. And you're able to actually go into online and actually just start doing some searches, trying to get a bit of an idea of what warehouses are actually on the market right now. So what we're going to do in this video now is we're going to actually jump onto the computer, and we're actually going to do this together. Let's go onto Google. I'm going to do some searches, find out what's currently available around here, and just share with you my thoughts on what I'm looking for, what the size is, what the budgets, what's actually happening on the market today. So let's jump onto the computer and do that right now. Okay, so we've just gone on to Google, and what we're going to do is we're just going to do some basic searches. So for me, I would put something like warehouses to rent in Scunthorpe or wherever your town is. And the first thing that you'll notice that it's going to come up with lots of different results here, and all the most regular different commercial search engines out there. So you've got like Prime Location, you've got Zoopla, you've got Rightmove. There's many different out there. So I'm just going to click on to the Prime Location and just accept that. And then what we can do is you can most definitely do filters, so you can start to see that there's the actual site is going to give lots of different sites, lots of different properties that you could actually rent. But for the sake of ease and speed, you'd want to just do some filters. So if you was to go onto you can just go onto industrial, the property type. You can go on to price, right? Depending on what your budget is, or your the minimum and maximum, whatever your budget may be. I'm just going to leave that blank for now. You can go on to square feet. So let's say, for example, I'm looking for 2,000 square foot. Whatever you want to do, you can put in the different filters, right? So then I'm just going to press on update, and this is I think it's a really fun process, because what it does, it can start to show you a little bit about like what's possible, what you're looking for. So you can see there's 40,000 square foot here, there's nearly 14,000 square foot here, you can go to 15,000 square foot. And then what you can do, you can most definitely do ascending, descending. I'm just going to look at from a smaller point of view. So let's have a look at some units here. So you've got, this is 500 to 1,000. This is 747 square foot. I'm going to be looking for roughly, just like I did the first time, around about 2,000, just to see if there's anything actually available. And it looks like, it doesn't look like there actually is on this site, which you may have, right? You may have that on a couple of these sites. So I'm just going to go back. Let's just search through a couple of these together. We'll go on to Zoopla and see, accept that. Let's have a look at some filters. We're going to go for, let's go for industrial. And let's see what there is here. We've got the 500 to 1,000 again. We've got 3,000 right here, just added. Looks like they were actually just building this one. So you can start to see a couple of things that you want to be aware of is, depending on what size that you're considering, you're going to have different potential business rates that you may have involved, right? So if you go into a certain size, then you up to a certain size, you're going to have like what they call business rates relief, small business rates relief, where you can actually get your business rates sort of to zero. But if you go above a certain size, you may want to check that at the time of when you're watching this, just to make sure that you're capturing all the costs that you've got involved. But so far, just having a bit of a scan, 15,000, 13,000, 10,000, 9,000. There's nothing really in the range that I'm looking for to start off with. So I'm just gonna go through these one at a time and just have a look. Let's go to the smallest first. We have. Let's do that search again. Let's do that filter, property type. We're gonna go warehouses. So this is actually coming up with, there's none available right now, which may be the case, you know, through different online estate agents, etc. There may not be. You just have to keep going through and seeing what there actually is. I'm going to go with warehouse. Let's search for that. So there's none within 5 miles. See if there's anything within 10 miles. See, this is where you've got to really start to think about the time travel that you're going to be adding onto every single day. There's 4,000 square foot. It's not looking good right now. Let me go back. Let's go on to on the market. Let's see what's here. We'll do a filter again. Let's go to industrial. So right now, it looks like there's not a great deal on the market from a commercial point of view. You know, you're going to have these times where there's a lot on the market, depending on what's happening in the economy. To there's maybe times where there's not much on the market, and you've got to try being a bit more resourceful through that Facebook, through everything that we are sort of talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I'm going to search for a couple more. But this is essentially what you would have to do. Just go through, and maybe on your phone, there's an apps. Just keep searching just to see what there potentially is. Go for warehouse again and start your search. See, it's not looking good. It's not looking good right now. So this is just just from this point of view, when you're actually trying to find a warehouse, you may well get this. You may well have, there may be different estate agents that you're actually aware of around the town, around the city. So a lot of these Prime Location or Zoopla, they're like search engines, and they're these third party, they try to collect all these notices and different locations. Whereas going on specific, when you go on to specific estate agents, they may have something completely different. They may not actually have shared it with these sites. So it's most definitely worth doing that too. But you're going to start doing this, and you're going to start looking around. And then what you're going to want to do, just for the purpose of this section, let's say, for example, you wanted to go look at this. I know it's an office, but I'm just sort of going through the process. Let's say this was a warehouse. One, you've got their name, who's marketed by, you've got their telephone number, and you would actually be able to get on the phone with them and say, I've just found an office to let, and this is where the actual location is. They'll know which office that you're talking about. You may want to email them, send them an email, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to request a viewing, right? Request a viewing. I recommend at this point, if you've got shortlisted 2 or 3 different warehouses that you like the look of, if it's been one of those, wow, I like this one, wow, I like this one, wow, I like that one, then what you're going to want to do is just make phone calls to them all and actually schedule viewings to them. So you can actually, yes, you can see photos, but when you're actually there in person, that's where it's great, because you can actually start to look at things and get your mind right. Take some photos of your own, take some videos of your own. So at this point, you're going to want to pick up the phone, email them, make contact with them, and then you'll be able to actually schedule a viewing. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to share with you a viewing that we did. I'm going to share with you the video and the vlog that we did going around this warehouse, which I think will be really, really enlightening for you. And you'll be able to sort of see my thoughts as I was walking through this warehouse that I was sat in right now, just to give you a bit of an idea. So let's go on over and do that now. Looking for a brand new warehouse. We've got the estate agent here with us, and we're looking for a bigger place because, as you know, we've completely outgrown ours, so we need to look at a much bigger place, which we're looking at about 4 or 5 times bigger than what we've got right now. So let me walk you through and walk and talk, and like I'm doing it myself as well. Let's go. So this is the front here. What's great about this is it's a real nice front here and some nice reception area, which is awesome. Let me push through. It's like a reception area here, logos on windows. And then comes to the first office. So one of the things that we were looking at is office space, multiple office spaces, as well as a break room, as well as a bigger place. So this is just a storage room here. Walk through here. So this is like the break room. Then you've got a bit of a open space just out here, which we'll walk into shortly. Then we've got another office. This is more of a sort of get out of the way type of office. This is where management could be, so you're not in all the craziness that's going on out there. I think this is just a toilet. It's got a couple of bathrooms, a couple of toilets. It's got like a men and women Here's Kylie. And it's got like a big office space. Good decent size this, isn't it?
I love it. It's got the windows so you can actually see it out.
And it's got the windows so you can see out, which is awesome.
There's a legal space in here. Got you get out multiple desks in here.
Yeah, got lots of growth for new members of staff as well. Through here was just it was just more toilet area, and if this works. There we go. So it's just toilet area. We'll go out to the front. This is the main warehouse. So the amazing thing about this, we've got like a roller shutter indoor, so incoming, and it goes into the open space here, where this is this is about 4 times bigger than ours, 5 times bigger with the offices and things, but it's got then another roller shutter door there, so you've got now a real nice system of in, out. Very big place. Fire exit. It comes with a courtyard as well, which is really, really good. So let me just jump out here, hopefully that I can. So this is all the actual courtyard as well. So all this is ours, or will be ours if we got it. Then you've got the roller shutter out, roller shutter in. So obviously there's a bit of work that could be done out here, but lots of car parking space, lots of get your lorries and get everything sort of packed up right here. If we put on events or anything like that, we can park out here. So just before we moved into this warehouse, I actually explained a little bit more about the lease. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut onto one of the videos that I published out on YouTube, where I was talking about the actual heads of terms that we've received for this particular warehouse. So let's go and do that now. And then the lease itself. So let me just quickly share with you the lease. So this lease here, obviously I'm not going to share with you the fine details, but it's got the heads of terms, it's got different sections. Number one is the property. First of all, the address of the actual lease itself. What type of property it is. So this here, this is a detached industrial premises with yard. Right, it's got a yard in the background. There's car parking, yes, and then it shares the details of the landlord, it shares the details of who it is, shares the details of the tenant. Then number 4, you may have a bond and deposit as well. So that was the rent, the service charge, the insurance. Then you've got the bond and the service. That might be, it could be 1 month, it could be 3 months rent. Then you've got a permitted use, right? Permitted use. What is this allowed to be used for? It's very, very clear. You've got to be very clear on this. So you've got different classes. So we've got like class B1, B2, B8. It's all about what you're using your business for. You want to make sure it's like storage and distribution, you know, and you need to really get your own legal advice here. You know, I'm just sharing with you from personal experience, but if you do need some legal representatives, I always recommend that you'll get somebody who's qualified to advise you correctly. But for me, you know, this is what it was here. The lease term, then it goes into sharing what the lease term is, the break clause, what will allow you to get out of the lease, the commencement date, the rent itself, what the business rates are, the rent review date. So there might be a rent review date, right? There's any alterations that you make. So you've got to think about the condition it's currently in. You've got to think about, you know, what is the condition of this and protect yourself. So there's like schedule of conditions that you can go through. You can just record everything that you're doing, get permission that you're allowed to do everything that you're doing. Then I mentioned the insurance, the service charge. There might be some ground rent. There's some ground rent if there is some ground rent involved. Then there's some clauses, right? So there's different clauses that a warehouse landlord may present to you, and you've got to think about and look at those clauses and get the right legal advice to ensure that you're happy with those clauses. And then it comes down to the negotiations. What can you do, right? What can you do to negotiate to make it a win-win situation? And my best advice in this would be to learn a little bit more about the property, learn a bit more about the history of the property, just sell yourself what the vision is, what you want to do, what your vision is for it. So you want to build it, and then you can start to discuss some negotiation, right? Whether that is rent negotiation, whether it's free rent renegotiation, whether it's some discounts here or there, whatever it ultimately is. Don't ever not ask the question, because if you don't ask, you don't get, right? Then there's like VAT, obviously, if you're in the UK. Managing assets, then you've got rent collection, how it's going to be collected, any legal costs, financial references, and then you've got the solicitors, etc. Right? So there's a lot of things to think about. There's a lot of things that I'm personally learning a lot right now. But I wanted just to quickly get this video up for a couple of reasons. Number one, to use this amazing whiteboard. This is the first time I'm using it, and I'm excited to experiment and give you guys the best sort of content I possibly can in here, make it a bit more interactive. But also, I want to share with you what I'm learning right now, what my experiences has been. You've got to push yourself. You either go out into a warehouse, you either go into a prep service. We've got a prep service here as well, FBA Prep Service UK, or you limit yourself and you don't grow anymore. I push you and I recommend you to do one of two things. Either get into a prep service where we can help you, right? We can help you. We've got a great franchise from multiple locations across the UK. And also, if you want to get into your own warehouse, this now is all about system creation. It's all about recruitment. It's all about team members. It's all about doing this systematically over time. So you don't come in and do everything at once, then you run out of money. You've got to think about the profitability that you have, right? You've got to think about all this. So what I wanted to do is just quickly jump on here and share with you this. If you enjoyed this, please comment down below, let me know. If you've got any questions whatsoever, if you want me to go into it a little bit more deeply about what's involved in terms of warehouse, covered a lot, security, finding the warehouse, the heads of terms, the history, capture your journey, capture it, because one day you might want to share this with other people as well, right? And that's exactly what we did. So I look forward to seeing you in the very next part of this Amazon FBA and e-commerce warehouse secrets.